What's up, everyone? Now that Scaramouche is in the game, I thought it would be a great idea to compare him to Xiao since they are both animal main DPS, and Xiao is my main, so I can be fairly confident with his choice. Before we start, I just want to remind everyone to sub and like if you enjoyed. We're slowly reaching 2k subs, and it would mean a lot if we could reach it soon. Thanks, I greatly appreciate it. Let's briefly go over the kits and differences before we start. It's Xiao, guys, and it's not even close. When I first saw Scara's kits, I legitimately thought he could potentially be better than Xiao, and oh boy, was I wrong. And I main Xiao. I triple crowned him and everything. I legitimately thought he had the better potential. He seems so much better on paper. He's got flexibility, no energy problems, better constellations, and with Farazan being released, it only made his future look a lot brighter. Or so I thought. You see, the thing about Scara that makes him underwhelmingly worse than Xiao is not just the damage. He actually performs decently well. I've managed to hit like 10k normal attacks without Farozan, surprisingly. Granted, I was using Bennett, but still 10k per normal attack is not bad at all. That's just under the same amount of damage that my Aya token do. But the difference here is that Scara doesn't have a large hitbox to hit multiple enemies that are spread apart from each other. And despite being an Animo unit, he doesn't have any sort of crowd control whatsoever. I tried using Venti to help remedy this problem, and while it does work, it's not going to help with single target DPS. You could argue that Scara has a bit of crowd control with his burst, but the damage that it does is laughably low. 4 normal attacks are able to output the same amount of damage as that burst. It's pathetic, my dude. Comparing this to Xiao, not only does he have better damage, but he technically has more crowd control than Scara. It just pushes enemies away, but at least it keeps him safe, right? And you can position him so that all the enemies get pushed towards the same direction. And speaking of being safe, after playing around with Scara for a day or so, I noticed that it does not change whether or not enemies on the ground will be able to hit you in the air. The only way you can prevent this is by flying higher a bit, but even that takes a lot of time for your rotations. He feels very clunky in his flying state despite feeling like no melee unit can reach him. He's deceivingly vulnerable, especially since he's on field for so long. What's worse is that his movement when he's flying feels a lot like Mona and Ayaka's dash, but faster. And I don't really think highly of those things. Dashing while he's flying is also required because of his passive, which can be hard to notice when it's active at times, especially when there are so many green numbers going around. There have been countless times where my Scara has been staggered during rotations. Xiao has very fast mobility, so it can be very difficult to hit him, and despite being energy hungry, it's less of a problem than being constantly staggered during rotations. The one thing that I'll give to Scara is flexibility in team comps. That's what I would have said if any of them performed well. Guys, I promise to you that I'm trying my best to not be biased towards Scara and to give him a fair chance and the benefit of the doubt, but I used every possible team that I could manage, and it just felt ridiculously slow no matter what I did. I tried Taser, Hyperbloom, Soup, Hypercarry, and even fucking National Team. They were all underwhelming in comparison to a lot of the previous teams I mentioned at their best. I tried Viridescence, Shimenawa's 2-piece split artifact. I haven't managed to get my hands on the new artifact set, but I highly doubt that it would make a huge improvement. I tried both Widsith and Lost Prayer. I adjusted my crit ratio and everything. Guys, I'm telling you, I honestly tried my best to try and make him work, but no matter what I did, the teams that he was in just felt weak. A few of you guys probably think that this is just a case of skill issue, and well, you're not wrong, but there's only so many teams you can go through until you realize that it's just not your fault, right? It's not just players' fault sometimes, it's also the character's design. And the worst feeling is realizing a lot of his potential is locked behind C6 Faruzan, an entirely different character. I could only imagine how good Scara would be with C6 Faruzan. It just sucks to say this, but I think I was right about her being constellation dependent. C6 gives extra damage and a lot more crowd control, which helps Scara out a lot, but it will significantly help out Xiao as well. Personally, I'm currently at C4 trying to go for C6, but I could only imagine how clunky she feels without any of the constellations. Like, if you don't have C4, I can only imagine like how much energy problems you have. And without C2, the duration of her debuffs or buff doesn't last as long. I'm still in denial thinking about how underwhelming Scara's performance was. I want to think that what I tried wasn't a fair chance since my Xiao has been fully invested in. Maybe we just have to wait until we fully level him up, as well as an Abyss rotation that he works in, but I'm not too sure what his best teams are, and I don't think what I just mentioned will make him significantly better than what he is right now. I just think it sucks seeing how we've been waiting for 2 years to finally see him be playable, only to get slapped in the face. Don't get me wrong, I do think he's really fun, but a lot of that fun just gets sucked away when you realize he's not as good as you hoped he would be. I at least thought he would be on the same level as Xiao, but his damage to me is the same level as Sino without Dendro. And maybe that's a bit harsh, but still, I hope he gets better in the future, and of course, only time will tell, but I don't think it will happen. It's not like Kokomi where the situation is like, people take a long time to realize what she's supposed to do, and that she's actually very good. The thing about Scara is that he's only meant to do damage, and doing good damage can only take you so far. Anyways, if it wasn't clear enough, I still think Xiao remains to be the best Anemo main DPS in the game. I meant like raw Anemo damage. After hearing all the disappointment about Scara, I was hoping I could prove them wrong and defend his gameplay, and oh boy was I proven wrong after single-handedly witnessing it myself. I thought Scara had a chance, but after using him for a while, I'm fairly confident with my decision. But again, don't let my opinion change what you think about the character. He may be underperforming right now, but at least he's fun, and that's all that really matters. Remember to sub and like if you enjoyed, help the channel reach 2K subs soon. It would really mean a lot, guys. Have a good night and day wherever you're at, and I'll see you all next time. Peace and take care.